记得我那时的黑色头发还没有一丝白色啊，直到你还在怪我，但你别哭了吧。那天晚上我醉出了时差，整个酒吧都在看我的笑话。你若今天来问我，我绝对不敢回答。如果在18，我没能送你花，拿到28，我请你喝酒吧，一直醉到讲出情话，也算此生无憾啦。如果在18，我没能送你花，拿到28，我请你喝酒吧，你的眼泪偷偷去擦，可能喝醉也是种办法。那天晚上我醉出了时差，整个酒吧都在看我的笑话。你若今天来问我，我绝对不敢回答。如果在18，我没能送你花，拿到28，我请你喝酒吧，一直醉到讲出情话，也算此生无憾啦。如果在18，我没能送你花，拿到28，我请你喝酒吧，你的眼泪偷偷去擦，可能喝醉也是种办法。如果在18，我没能送你花，拿到28，我请你喝酒吧，一直醉到讲出情话，也算此生无憾啦。如果在18，我没能送你花，拿到28，我请你喝酒吧，你的眼泪偷偷去擦，可能喝醉也是种办法。
Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Crazy day this morning. I found that a number of my most frequented websites stopped working for one reason or the other. Apparently, LinkedIn decided to restrict my access because of unauthorized activity or activity that went against the social expectations, whatever that may mean. And my web page, I have a start page that lists all my links, was suddenly erased. Instead, I have Facebook, Twitter, these other websites I never use. They're American websites. And then I noticed that a number of my other websites are being challenged. They don't recognize me as a member anymore. I don't quite know what's going on, but it seems awfully strange that all of a sudden a great deal of problems are associated with my American websites, American-based websites. This comes on the heels of a massive meltdown and a couple of shutdowns of my website. If I was more conspiracy minded, I would say that there is somebody who's got it in for me. But really, I'm not doing anything bad. I'm just saying what my thoughts are. If saying thoughts are bad, then the world has moved into a very dark place. I'm in the process of recovering, but you know what? I'm not going to jump through hoops for LinkedIn. I hardly visit that site anymore anyways. Hasn't provided me much benefit. For a while it did, but now I'm too old. It's not really providing me any benefit whatsoever. Some of the other ones, they don't care. I don't care. I suppose that once I set up a YouTube account, I got on the grid, so to speak, and my whereabouts electronically became known to the censoring police in the States. I don't know if it's true or not. Seems to make sense. And they tracked me down and says, okay, we're just going to make your life a little bit harder, shut you up a little bit. And if I persist, they'll shut me up even more. I really am not advocating death to anybody or hurting anybody. I'm not being racist. Just talking about life. But apparently this information, people listening to me, people thinking about what I have to say is apparently a dangerous thing. Or that it's my imagination. I'm too self-centered. Nobody really gives a rat's ass about me. I mean, really, guys, I don't have the volume of people, supposedly, so I don't know. I do know that on YouTube, comments come and go, disappear and reappear. I do know that numbers of followers come and go, and so all this data that is presented on the website is massaged. You really don't know how many viewers you have. Not really. Back in 1992 or 1993, I forget when, I was on Free Republic, and one of the computer guys posted an article that he wrote showing how the polls were being manipulated, where suddenly it was in favor of one candidate, and then suddenly within a span of 2 seconds it was an outraging support of the other candidate, and he just went right through it. It was just outrageously clear. Of course, since then things have become a lot more sophisticated. They gradually increase and change the numbers over time, so those kinds of outrageous events are no longer so obvious. Eventually, we're going to reach a point in time, people, where communication and the free expression of ideas will only be limited to the East. You won't be able to do it in the West. Right now, communication from the East to the West is severely curtailed. We know from the elections in Australia that you got rid of one fiasco, Morrison, and you put another one who's going to continue his policies. Now, he ran on the election platform that he was going to change the policies, and once he got in office, he says he's going to continue the policies. That should tell you guys, in the West, democracy is a farce. It's a farce. It doesn't exist. Democracy does not exist. Now, in the animal kingdom, when you have a creature that is really going against the societal norms and is really beating up all the other creatures, and all kinds of stuff happens, eventually the universe works itself out and that person goes away, one way or the other. The direction the United States is heading to, whatever it may be, is not going to a good, safe place. It's going to a bad place, and that's all I'm saying. I don't know how it will manifest. I don't know what it will do. I don't know how it will impact people. I just know that it's going to happen, and it's in the process of happening right now. I, of course, have my own ideas, which I enumerate. But it's not going to be a good place, people. You know, my dog, I got a dog. He's an old dog. He's in his grandpa doggy years. And he had a couple of strokes. He does not remember anything. He doesn't know how to crawl into his bag, doesn't know what a leash is, doesn't answer to command. I don't even know if he knows his name anymore. So he was on the porch. We keep him on the porch because he pees wherever and whenever. He forgot how to go to the bathroom. So we had trained him. We taught him to go to the bathroom on a blue mat. Then we moved the blue mat into the bathroom shower, the one bathroom shower. And over time, we started cutting the mat smaller and smaller and smaller. And they're really trying really hard to crap on that little tiny square that's like 1 inch big. He's forgot all that. He just goes to the bathroom wherever. So last night, I'm doing my stuff. It's quiet. Kids asleep. Everything's quiet. I'm finally able to think. I'm a little tired too. And he's over at the door. I'm like, okay, hang out with me. You can hang out with me. Instead of being on the porch, I let the door in. He goes around and he pees in that corner. He pees in that corner. He squats down over here and pees over there. He takes a dump over there, and then he goes back on the porch. Sometimes your sympathies end up on being more work for you to do. Sometimes people take advantage of your sympathies and use that to obtain their objectives. Sometimes your acceptance of these sympathies, your acceptance of handling your mannerisms for these sympathies are misconstrued by others. Maybe they don't even understand them like a senile old dog. Or maybe they do understand them but don't care like a psychopath. You have to be able to understand that your sympathies and how you manifest them and how you control your sympathies really depends on situations. You have to have situational control of sympathies. You just don't generate sympathies willy-nilly. And you have to be careful because they can be used against you. I was thinking about this as I was walking out of my complex. They're doing construction in that building over there and the construction in that building over there, and because of coronavirus, that gate's closed and that gate's closed. So I have to actually literally go through a maze here and then here and then here and then down here and then down here and then down here and then up there and then around there to get out of the complex. It's a pain in the ass. My sympathies and the rest of the community are that, well, this is work that needs to be done and people are doing this and la-di-da, la-di-da. But it's not open-ended. Nothing is ever open-ended. You have to define barriers. You have to define boundaries. Your sympathies only extend up until it reaches this wall, and then they end. In the case of the dog, my sympathies ended because I realized that he is no longer diaper trained. He is no longer toilet trained. He is a village dog with the IQ of a puppy. He has to stay on the porch. It's the world. We have to take this understanding to everything we do in our life. For instance, what are the boundaries on these software programs? As long as they're providing me a valuable service, or I enjoy going to there, for instance, LinkedIn. I have a very extensive profile there on my LinkedIn account. It hasn't gone anyway. It hasn't gone away. I still keep it. But I don't visit it very often. I don't need to visit it very often. So I'm just going to just leave it sit there. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to prove who I am in anything. And I don't really give a shit what happens to it. Maybe it's ways for me to communicate with some old colleagues of mine. If they haven't communicated with me in the last couple of years, they're probably never going to, and that's called life. That's the way it is. And you see people, you have to assign boundaries to everything. Nothing can be open-ended. With relationships, with computers, with pets, with where you live, with your interactions with others. We all need boundaries. Boundaries. I view this turmoil that I woke up to on the computer as a reset button. It hasn't really stopped my functionality, because over time I had generally been cutting the cords to everything associated with the West as far as software is concerned. The only exception was I opened up this YouTube account because I like YouTube. And I try not to be too controversial, even though they banned a couple of my stuff. But as long as I'm not violating their codes, I guess they don't want me to talk about coronavirus. Well, that's okay. I believe it's a real virus, so that's fine. I don't talk about racism or races or anything, because for me, the cat is white, the cat is calico, the cat is black. It doesn't matter to me. I really don't care. I care about the people. I don't care what they look like. I mean, I really don't. I'm not advocating any kind of extremism in any type of way. I do talk about my experiences, and I've noticed that they banned anything where I talk about special access programs. Well, that's okay. I'm sure they don't want to get in trouble with the government. Don't want to get in trouble with the United States government, so I understand that. It may not be officially written, but I got the message, so I'm not going to talk too much.
又过了一天，自从你的离开，我不该找寻你存在。我试着去放下对你的依赖，我不再责怪。在城市的角落，还有一些失落，爱都还太脆弱，不禁折磨，还倒映着日落。带风慢慢吹过，我掩盖寂寞，我一人走在你和我分隔的那一片海，听着浪潮的声音，或许明天你会回来。在没有你的世界，我会试着放手去爱，我独自看海。 声音，或许明天你会回来。在没有你的世界，我会试着放手去爱。我独自看海。
But, hey, so when situations occur like this computer reset, I recognize, okay, new boundaries have been set by others. I thought they were here, they're actually here. Fine. You live life and you move on, okay? And that's what I'm doing. I believe we have to be like a raft on water. As the water goes and undulates, we ride the waves, we ride the raft. I think it's helpful to us. I think it makes our life simpler, and it's beneficial. You might be in turmoil with your family right now. You might be in between jobs. You might be scared shitless after reading the news, but you have to realize that you have to ride the waves no matter how uncomfortable they may seem. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You go with the flow. One of the biggest problems when you first arrive in China, or another nation for that matter, and you see that there's certain things that they don't have that you're used to, it's kind of culture shock, but you make up for it in other things. For me, the culture shock was no bagels. I didn't appreciate bagels until I lived in university in New York, and then again when I moved up to Boston, especially Boston, all those bagels, daily, hot, moist, freshly made bagels. And so I lived without bagels for the longest time. Now I put a recipe in there on how to make bagels, and I'm telling you guys, I'm gonna make my own bagels. So when I move to my new house, I'm gonna be making bagels all the time. I'm gonna get my little daughter here. She's gonna help me make bagels because bagels are great. I like bagels. And if you don't like bagels, well, that's tough titties, guys. I like bagels, so I'm talking about bagels. But there's other things like cheese. And so you adapt. You adapt to the situation as you have, and you don't get too upset about these other events that are going on in your lives. Even though they are upsetting, I'm not going to deny it. I felt a little bit peeved cleaning up after my fucking dog, after he's screaming and crying to come on in. But I understand the situation. I didn't punish him. He just walked out after he made all of his messes, and I spent the next 20 minutes cleaning him up. Then I sat down to watch this video. I thought, it might be a good why Taiwan is different from the UK, and it turned out to be this propaganda bullshit. Well made though. Well made propaganda, but propaganda. I talked about that in the other video, but it doesn't matter. Perhaps I need to be more judicious in what I watch, don't you think? I do. I think I need to be more judicious. I try, guys. I try. I try to be better. Doesn't always hit the mark, though. Some of you guys think that I'm like some kind of Superman. You believe in me, and you think like I'm some kind of Superman. People, I'm not. I'm just a regular guy just like you. I'm a regular schmo. I just had some unique experiences. That's it. And I have my ups and downs and everything just like anybody else. And I'm not rich. I'm just like you. Actually, I'm probably doing on a lower income scale compared to in China. It looks really big to you guys out in the West because you all don't have anything. But, you know, I'm just a regular guy. And I'm going through regular things, just like you guys go through. There is nothing I'm going through that you haven't had something similar. There's nothing that unique. It's just a different story, a little different color, but it's the same things you guys deal with. All of you guys. Every single one of you. There is not one person in the audience who hasn't fallen in love and then watched the relationship burn terribly. And the hurt that you feel afterwards is visceral. There's not one person who hasn't had that experience. There is not one person out there who hasn't had a pet that has died, one that they're very close to. There's not one person out there who hasn't had a job and then suddenly that job crumbles, or you got a new manager, or something different changes and the entire job situation goes from positive to negative. We all have these experiences. We all have had the experience where the car dies when it shouldn't. Especially in the middle of a intersection with horns beeping. That's terrible. We've all been in accidents. And we've all experienced computer crashes and data losses. That's the life that we're paying. We can have an acceleration of this during the conflict, like where the West is heading towards right now. Or we can have a mitigation where things are getting better, like what we're having in the East. And that's what's going on in the globe, by the way. The West is going towards instant fiasco. The East is calming down and locking down and battening hatches because they like what they have. So yeah, this morning I was pretty surprised. Everything was running. When I turned off the computer, I turned it on. I was like, what happened? It would be one thing if it was one website, but it was like, 5, and my start menu, and then the speed of my connections. It's almost like the input things coming in are suddenly going into a hold, and they churn around and then they reach me. It's like really weird. Sounds like somebody wants to read my interesting internet traffic. My internet traffic is not that interesting, guys. So people, I want you to remember what this is all about. This is all about getting control of your boundaries and then adapting. Control your boundaries and then adapt to changes. Move the boundary goalpost as necessary. You move them as necessary. Don't be fixed. Move as things change. Don't be fixed. Be in a state of movement like water. Okay? You'll be good for it. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but once you adapt to it, you'll be good. And people, part of a community, do your best. And at that, guys, I want to end up with my basic words of advice. Be good. Smile. Make a difference in the world that you live in. Be good to dogs, cats. Be helpful. Be the Rufus. Participate. Don't be a spectator. And when the situation calls, take action. And at that, guys, remember,